All right, can everyone see my screen? Stephen, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar today. My name is Ashley Limbers, and I'm the marketing lead here at Encompass Solutions. At Encompass Solutions, we partner with organizations like yours, aiming to streamline their business processes, automate tasks, and optimize ROI. Our solutions integrate operations and minimizing tedious tasks and efficiencies across all facets of your business. And today we are discussing enhancing your supply chain efficiency with Epicor Kinetic Warehouse, presented by Stephen Duralde. Just a few things before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded, and a copy of that recording will be emailed to you. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel, and we'll bring them up during our Q&A session at the end. And we also encourage you to take the survey after today's event. Here with me on the call is our CAM, Lynn Gemper, and our senior consultant, David Sullivan, who is going to introduce Encompass Solutions and our partnership with Epicor. So David, over to you.
Thanks, Ashley. If you could skip the slide for me. So welcome, everyone. Thank you very much. Epicor Kinetic Warehouse is one of my very favorite apps. And I think one of the best improvements Epicor has rolled out, certainly in the last 10 years. And I'm a huge fan of Kinetic. So when I say that I love the wireless app even better, that's quite a recommendation. And the reason this is near and dear to my heart is I was a customer 14 years ago, struggling in a company with tremendous amounts of overtime and inefficiencies, both in inventory management and shipping. And I actually worked with Stephen, to be honest, way back in the day. And through hard work, there was a lot of data cleanup that we did, but introducing handheld activity in that environment was able to cut down a significant amount of overtime, free our people up so they could actually see their families. So it's just a topic that I love quite a bit. For those of you who don't know Encompass, we are an Epicor partner, which means we sell their software, but we also are heavily involved in implementing the software with them. We're located in Greensboro, North Carolina, but we have folks all over the country and in fact, all over the world with a global presence. I think this year we've got someone in Vietnam, Canada. I just finished a project in Spain. So we're kind of all over the place, but most of our focus is here in the United States. We are a value-added reseller with Epicor, and we're one of their premier Epicor partners. And mostly what that means is that our team goes through the same level of certification, actual identical certification program to Epicor's staff, and we work very closely together with Epicor, both assisting on their projects and pulling in key resources when we need help with our projects. And Stephen Duralde is one of those key resources. And Stephen, not to embarrass you or anything, but there's no one better on the planet. He's got almost 30 years experience in the industry with Epicor. And so that means he understands how the software works on every level. He's got a technical and a programming background. On the hardware side of things, Stephen sold me my first handheld device back in 2011 or 2012 and helped me get Epicor's advanced material management up and running. So he's really that person who can answer almost every question. And since the advent of Epicor Kinetic Warehouse, the Android app, I know that he also works very closely with those developers. So he's kind of always pushing the product forward with improvement and has just helped Stephen, I don't know, it's got to be thousands and thousands of companies at this point get up and running. So Encompass is really delighted to have you here, Stephen. Thank you very much. And I'll step back and let you go.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. And Dave, maybe you can help me monitor the chat. I'm happy to have, people interrupt with some questions, and you interrupt me too. I like to try to make these webinars, even though they're recorded, and a little bit more interactive if at all possible. So yeah, I encourage that even in this presentation. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen first. So yes, David said I'm solutions engineer here at Epicor. I got to correct you, 32 years now, so quite a bit of a time here at Epicor. And I, primarily focus on the warehouse and shop floor and getting the Epicor Kinetic Warehouse working along with MES, Advanced Material Management, BarTender, our label system. So yeah, I have a lot of experience. That's probably why I have a busy desktop too. But I'll go to this desktop and actually I'll start here with the slide and kind of set our agenda. And then I'll go into my demo image and I'll show you some live transactions. Okay. So right here on the kind of kick things off, I will talk about how to improve your warehouse kind of with a best practice approach in this case today. Thinking about putting all the different components that are out there from BarTender and from Epicor and our third-party partners like BarTender, and how to implement those different components into one cohesive warehouse management system with best practices. And then there's been some new things. I would definitely want to talk about this because it's very exciting, where we have what we call kinetic BPM forms within Epicor Kinetic Warehouse. So you can actually have some new prompting and things like that, where there's screens that formerly you couldn't really add a data entry or custom field to. You can now do that with BPM forms. So I'll give you an example of that. And then a big hit with all our customers now has been the addition of more and more opportunities for you to take pictures. We've expanded into receiving. We've always had shipping since the app was put out, but also in production, RMAs, and some others. And then I'll talk a little bit about a customer success story we had recently, incorporating Epicor Kinetic Warehouse with the automated storage and retrieval systems they have for also, best practice in terms of the storage optimization. And then we have some new exciting features with serial and lot numbers. So I'll show you some of the new data entry screens or transaction screens to do a faster serial and lot entry movement. So really, gives you guys an opportunity that may be a little concerned about how many kinds of things you have transaction wise when you turn on lot or serial numbers or PCIDs in Epicor, but now that you have a better way to process those, you may take advantage of them. And I always like to at least talk a little bit about cost justification for our solutions and the kind of payback you can expect to achieve. So I'll start here talking about AMM and our material queue manager. So our material queue manager is really a nice way to run your warehouse, because we have so many different transaction types that are available for you to process transactions in a much more paperless way. So the big key difference in best practice using our material queue is two things: the ability to go paperless and the ability to know what you have in your task queue, like what kind of load you have on how many putaways do I have, how many picks for jobs, how many picks for shipping. So you can really gain some control and redeploy people into their most efficient types of tasks. So I'll show you using Epicor Kinetic Warehouse in conjunction with our embedded material queue. And we also have something that's very powerful now to sort and filter anything in the material queue, so it becomes a workable plan for your employees. So per employee, you can add all these different queues, requests for putaways or for job picks or whatever, so that they're meaningful to that user, directing them to do the task automatically. So that's the power of using the material queue and using Epicor Kinetic Warehouse in conjunction with that. Another concept I like to just talk about is PCIDs. We're getting a lot more acceptance of PCIDs now in our use. And what that is another kind of sub-bin level of inventory control. So you have site, warehouse, bin, but now you have PCIDs that are kind of a sub-bin where you can identify them with a key identifying number that's usually barcoded, that's usually, you know, very visible. And you can do your transaction processing by those license plates or package control IDs instead of having to enter so much data. The ID or the license plate knows what part number it is. It knows what lots and knows what serial numbers is. So you can just kind of move from bin to bin PCIDs or pick them for shipments. And so think of them as packages or of some sort. It might be totes, it might be pallets, whatever it is that you're building and using to you know, move at a more granular level. So you know, I'll show some screens here in live. I know you know, we don't have too much time for the webinar. I want to leave time for questions. So I'll show a few slides on the screen, you know, kind of make sure that you know some of the highlights that we're, you know, using these screens and incorporating them with labels and sometimes with PCIDs, package control IDs, being prompted for or generated so that you can have a license plate for what you receive. We also have, of course, in the new PCIDs, we can track WIP, either materials that are components that you're maybe staging for jobs or for the assemblies moving through the factory into package control IDs. So, you know, I just kind of want to talk about some of the best practice there that you can use those license plate IDs and really kind of easily have a staging location for what you've put into a package, let's say a pallet full of job assembly parts that aren't quite ready for the assembly department yet. So you've staged them in a bin and then you move them to the production area when it's appropriate. And you'll have the full list of what's in those PCIDs. Okay, and the same kind of thing on using package control IDs in the process of kind of almost completing an item. So it's still in WIP, but it's now got a package control ID if it's a stock item. And then you can do job receipt to inventory faster by the license plate. And so that's become a popular type of transaction. So now we do have this new allocation. So a lot of people have been kind of hesitant to use the AMM material queues to pick for jobs or to pick for shipments, partially because the fulfillment workbench required some manual processes. But now with the fulfillment workbench automation, more and more customers are moving into an automated way to generate their picking queues. So I do want to just kind of touch on that concept for best practice, that's going to really help you on the front end of getting the material queue records in a position to process with Epicor Kinetic Warehouse. Okay, and then we have some capabilities to use PCIDs for transfer or shipping. So those of you that have multiple sites, you'll find it real helpful if you load everything through a stock to plant kind of request in the material queue into PCIDs, and then be able to just in one step use the customer or site transfers of loading those PCIDs. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about that flow during some demoing. And finally, I don't want to forget to talk about some of the best practices for just managing the app, just knowing the location of the documentation and that there's a lot of help available either for installation or for user guide, for template building when you have combination barcodes and all those kinds of things. And so, and to manage your own licensing. So just be sure to, if this link doesn't work in the slide deck that you have or in the presentation, that you get this link from us. Okay. And again, just a lot of good documentation constantly being added through that link. I also want to talk a little bit about roaming, because I get this question a lot about the capability to store all the settings, some of the settings that I'll show you. And so one of the nice things is that we centralize all the settings that you do in the app into a roaming table or one UD table in Epicor. So it's all self-managed, and you can set them at company levels, users, and now sites and warehouse team levels. We've just expanded that roaming capability. Okay, and so I'll talk a little bit about using templates, and I'll give you some better examples, but this screen has a pretty good example of the global standard template that we can use. And this is a capability that is really just getting more and more popular. It's almost like a PCID all-in-one barcode. So where you have your part number, your lot number, your quantity, all those kinds of things in a barcode, and you can scan them in one scan to do transactions. And then we also have scan sequencing, where you can control some of the scan sequencing on individual screens. So I just want to point that out as another, best practice. We do support the new advanced unit of measure and the new part revision control in Epicor. So just wanted you to be aware of that, and you can always get some help as we get into some of these more, sophisticated kinds of capabilities. And finally, part pictures. I'll show you some of those examples on the live demonstration, but very popular and very easy from transaction screens, just to click on the picture options and have the camera invoked on the Android devices. So that's something that's really been helping. So again, the roaming now and the a lot of the settings that you have are going to be saved at optionally site levels and warehouse team levels. We do have the ability to add some spare fields in the app through what we call custom fields. And so you just add some columns in UD column maintenance in Epicor, and they'll magically appear on your handheld Epicor Kinetic Warehouse screens. And then, as I mentioned, we do have now new support for BPMs and BPM data forms, so that you can have events trigger different or conditions trigger different actions. Okay.
Stephen, would you mind giving 2 or 3 examples of how you've seen those BPM forms used?
Yeah, sure. So the latest BPM form, I can even turn them on for us if we have time on this demo. We did it for a customer so that they could prompt for some quality information during sales order picking. Each box of reels of electronic components to have a unique ID that ties to the quality control number. So we're able to scan that during the queue pick. So as soon as you try to hit save of what you've been picking, like what quantity and what part number it is, a screen will pop up and they scan the quality control number on the case that they're picking, or the reel, the box, or whatever it is. But yeah, so that is a real good example. Then we do some post-processing with the BPM to put it into the part transaction history, and they take it from there and put it wherever they want to put it. So yeah, so that's one of the first ones. We also had one with the air conditioning company that I'm trying to remember what exactly where they were prompting, if it was a job or sales order pick also. But what's nice about the BPM data forms is that it does give you an option to prompt for information that you can't otherwise, because there's no physical table behind the screens. Like receipt detail, you could always add some fields. I do that for label printing, but on the new BPM data forms, it's just really expands the opportunities now to do any of your custom kind of things and integrate it from your just building it simply in Epicor, and it appears. We render them for you without any lifting or any work on the app side for you. All right. Any other questions in the chat or anything before I talk a little bit about this case study?
Not at this. You're good. Not at this time.
Okay. So let me talk about WhipBetter. This is a pretty exciting project, and I use them for my label examples now in my demo. But they had these retrieval systems that they bought, but they just really weren't that well integrated. And you can see, to make a float, airplane float, you have to have a lot of parts. And so they have these big vertical lifts with tons and tons of parts. And so what we did was we actually use Automation Studios to send the job or sales order pick request to the vertical lift system, so they can kind of do what they do magically to just make sure the tray is coming up in the order that you need it for that job pick or that sales order pick, as efficiently as possible. And then the people way down here in this little corner, I don't know if you can see, there's a little handheld computer here. I wish if I had my way, all the pictures would have shown the handheld computer a lot better. But someone took this for me. But this is the Epicor Kinetic Warehouse in this kind of bottom picture where they're actually doing a queue process record of stock to material or stock to ship by verifying, because everything's labeled with a barcode. It's so easy to just do the material queue request and make sure, it's like double sure you got the right part, right? And so that also kind of eliminated the need for two-way integration. So the project was, is real straightforward and very, very efficient for them. They talked about doing, some savings on some job picks up to 30, 40 minutes per job pick time on a single job. Okay. So just talk a little bit about Payback before I even show you the software live. You can expect these 20 to 25% efficiency gains. Some companies will say they save 40% time on things like job picking. And then think in terms of cost per day per employee, always being less than $10 if you really do the investment kind of analysis and math. And also, look for those production efficiency improvements. So, I mean, I think you're going to see those. You're going to see better customer and supplier relationships when everything's in real time with Epicor. Okay. So let's take a look. And I'd love if I have any questions or anything else we can just kind of talk to, or if there's some other chat that while I'm kind of getting the screens changed over.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, there's a question. In the example of integrating with the ASRS, are they using EKW to put it away into the system? Let me say that again, sorry. In the example of integrating with ASRS, are they using EKW to put away into the system?
That's a great question. I remember kind of when we were speccing out the project, doing some of that as part of the process. I don't know if it's required because they might have like from receiving a primary bin kind of set for the part already, but I can get you that answer a little bit better. Because they are only storing kind of at a granular level with the modulus software. So they know that the vertical lift system knows the exact bins, and we just know that they're in the verticals. Okay. I kind of lobbied for putting it at a tray level and maybe thought that might be easier in the future for cycle counting or for some other levels of inventory control. But for now, that's the way they've set that up. Okay. So here I'm working with the handheld now. And I'm going to be working with some Epicor screens. Okay. So I have the advantage of WebEx within our Zoom meeting so that I can actually just show the live transactions on the handheld itself. And you can see a scanner at the top and very easy profiles for handheld, almost the size of a telephone, your cell phone. Okay. Just quick check that you guys are seeing everything on the screen okay. Since I've moved over.
We see the fulfillment workbench in the background and then the handheld on the right.
Okay, great. So let me show you some transactions, and I'll use some label help, for my transactions. We have lots of different labels that we'll usually use for receiving or for, package control IDs. I'll have the label samples. And then I might have some parts that help me, kind of receive too. So I might have barcode, part numbers or POs or sales order numbers on documentation or on labels. And so that can also help streamline the processes. But in this case, maybe my supplier puts a pack slip on here. And if they do, then I'm in good shape. But if I would put the right PO number, that would be in better shape. So we also have, I didn't do that on the barcode. I left off 4538. So, but I do have 4538, a search. I can even do what's called kind of like these multi-level searches, right? So, so if I just wanted to pick all the POs for the particular supplier, But I'm going to pull this first one, 4538, and I'm going to add to a pack slip I just started. And I'll get a message here, but I don't have to get that message. I can toggle that off. And then I'm going to show you an example of something kind of fun. I start with a sizzle here in this case, where you can use these combination barcodes. Let's say a supplier brings in some parts, and they have some of this resin that's coming in, but they mark their resin gaylords with a lot of information in one label. So right now I'm looking at the list of items to receive. And if this barcode's on the box for the RON C1110 or whatever it is, I do a single scan of that combination barcode and the system goes into action. And it jumped past the second page, filling in a lot of information, all that, and prompted me with the one prompt that I didn't pull out of the combination barcode. But if you notice on that previous page, it had the expiration date already pre-filled in. You'll see here the lot numbers filling in from this barcode, and the quantity in kilograms is also filling in. Okay, so I have 375 kilograms added to this receipt. I could also put it into a package control ID if I want, but since I got a combination barcode, I won't do that. But I might also, have a picture taking ability right now. So I might allow that. Okay, come on, allow photos, I guess. Try that again. Okay, so then I might take a picture of something, right? And so the product was fine, they got the right labeling, and then that will go into the PO receipt attachment. Okay. So I just showed you a couple technologies in one. You can also receive comments. You can talk or type the comments. Okay. And then you would typically get a label. And so my BarTender will be running in the background, and I'll get my label. Okay. And I might even have a 2D barcode with multiple pieces of information for using those templates to do other moves. So that whole template processing, I'm just going to break out for a second and show you a setting where you get to build your own kind of recognition template for whatever barcode you're receiving from your suppliers. And hopefully you're telling them to use the GS1 standard. And that makes it easy on me to help you guys build out all these different templates. But if you notice, if I go into the PO receipt, line item receipt, where I scanned those items, you can see I have this template set up. Okay. And so there's good documentation on it, and just definitely is nice, not only to use necessarily for the receiving only, but you can use combination barcodes for lots and lots of transactions now in Epicor. Okay. So, and if we're missing one, we'll add it to the list. Or if we're missing some variables, like you notice, we've expanded our product into dynamic attributes. So, for some particular transactions, we might need to scan for the dynamic attributes. Or when customers come to me with kind of a unique problem barcode, like they might have a combination field with command tabs in between it, we're able to still help them out, develop a template so that we can read their part number, quantity, and lot number all in one scan while we're doing inventory moves, for example. So so there's just a lot of great capabilities to build your own templates or to recognize combination types of barcodes from your suppliers. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple other little examples. One is you can do the receiving again here. I'm going to pick a different part. I like to receive make to job or purchase direct parts when you purchase them directly to a job. I like to receive them and put a label on it. And I might also put it in a PCID if I want to move that work in process item, from the receiving area to somewhere else. And so I might generate, a PCID for that. And I'll generate that. And then I'll save those. Okay. So inventory receipt lines into a PCID. Okay, well, that's the job I'm not going to receive into there. So okay. But I did want to show you this label made. So here's the label with the job number. And I also do the same to buy to sales order number. So just know you can, kind of print the appropriate job number on the labels. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about the material queue. So I want to show you the utility to do the material queue processing. Okay. And that is, it's called material query. So if you notice, I do lots of demos, so I have lots of these little custom queries. But for the purpose of this, I'll just do a simple one where I'll say I want to do a job pick. So I'll kind of move on to job picking. Okay. And I'll set it at a company level. And then I'll go find it down at the bottom of my list. And I'll say that I want to do a filter by transaction type of stock to material. Okay. And then I'll want to also maybe prompt on the screen for the job number optionally. So I'll say I want the job number, okay, to be prompted in the form itself or while I'm doing a material queue pick for job picking, okay? And I'll say save. And while I'm at it, I want to go up and down in the bin order the best way. So I'll say from bin order search. And there's other ways to do this, but I'll just keep it simple here. And then I'm going to add it to my favorite because it's now on my custom menu. So if I go into my favorites, I'll put it on my desktop. Okay. So here it is, way down at the bottom of the list, job picking. Okay. So now if I tap on that and I see what's in my material queue, I've got a lot of items that I can pick, right? So I'll go into my material queue and I'll say, okay, I want to pick, whatever it is, DR rotor, DR Velcro, and I can just scan those parts. And I find them on my list, okay? Now, as I said too, I might have wanted to just narrow it down to those parts for that job. So I could always scan the job number 2480 or enter job 2480 from my traveler. Whoops. And then as you notice, my list shrinks up to only the job 2480 parts. So now I have a pickable plan right there. So if I scan the DR Velcro or the DR rotor, it'll pull it right into view and it turns on the incrementer and I can count. And we've gotten more and more sophisticated with this incrementer, we call it, for scanning. So I have to hit the same part though while I'm in the incrementer, as you notice, right? And then it'll add to it. So it must be taking the other one. Okay. But anyway, so this is the incrementer. Now we also have part pictures on file. So we'll view any picture that during picks, sales orders or jobs, and we'll just simply, move it. And you can generate PCIDs too while you're doing your picks. So you can come here and just say, I'm picking onto a pallet. Generate your PCID and save that. So now, if you want to put it into a different area later, you can. I don't know why that lost that. Okay. So that's an example of a job pick and using the material queue to, in a way that you've sorted and filtered. You kind of had a plan for that right on your desktop. Okay, and that could be a put away, that could be some special batch picking of shipments. So it could be any of those types of transactions. Okay, so on the label side, now that we've got this in WIP, one of the things I wanted to show you too is we have a lot more capability to kind of move around WIP and move PCIDs and, you know, kind of keep track of part locations a lot better that way. So, you know, you can move WIP PCID, you can just kind of pick PCIDs that are in WIP. And that pallet 77 was my last pallet. I can process it simply from bin to bin, okay? And so you can move, you know, anything. You can see where it is here. You can drill in using these I buttons. You can see that it's, you know, status is in WIP, but it's in this bin. It's not really in the production bin yet, but I need it at production now. So I can say, yeah, I really need it in the production warehouse at the assembly location, and just process those items that we job picked right into that assembly area. I'll pause for a second for questions there, because I just introduced a lot of things there on a job pick into a PCID, so you can kind of stage things in WIP and then move them over to the production center. Any chat or questions on that?
Not at this time.
All right.
Yep. So if you have any questions, please type those in the question box so we can get them answered for you.
Definitely. Okay. So I'm going to put in a job here, 2480. And I'm going to do something else. I'm going to show you how we might want to start production and end the activity and do some picture taking while we're ending activities. Okay. So that might be a, you know, good way for you to, after you report the 5, you want to say, you know, that you made 5 good, you made the good mouse, right? So that's going to go into the job attachment list. Okay. And then we're going to just maybe even generate a PCID for that. And we have the ability to print the contents, so we can print what we're learning about the transactions for a finished good label. Okay. So again, I'd find that on the job attachment list for 2480 right now, this new picture. Okay, and then I'd also maybe have this finished good label that I have a PCID, and if it's a stock item, I might want to receive it into inventory by that PCID, and I sure can. Okay, so if you just notice, I mean, there's a theme here. We're doing a lot less data entry. It's not only mobile, but it's more efficient, you know, through the different transactions that are available. So if I just scan this PCID over here, down here on this screen is smart to that scan. Okay. And then it'll recognize it as a WIP status finished good PCID that needs to get into inventory. Okay. So, and maybe that inventory location's the shipping area, or maybe it's another bin. But either way, you can just say Chicago, and it's going into this bin and receive the PCID, the stock. Okay. All right. So I said, so I just probably have enough time, if there's no questions right now, to talk a little bit about the shipping side. I have some orders teed up, and I can kind of run that through the process. But I also can look at my method directives, okay, and turn this BPM we did on that, on another case study here. So it was right in here. And so we kind of have some conditional logic that says use a BPM form, right? So I'll enable that and hit save. And then we also have some logic in here that is the post-processing logic. Okay, and I'll enable that. And that's where the part tran record would get updated. And I'll say save that. So when I'm about to do a material queue pick now of a sales order, then I've just enabled a BPM that on the material queue pick is gonna, have that effect. So I'll go out of designer mode. Okay, and call back my handheld, and I'll do under material queue, there's an option just to pick by sales order. So I'll kind of keep it easy. You could create your own pick plan, but you could also just say, okay, I'm picking order number 5672, scan that barcode, and okay, that's because it's not in my outbound order yet. It's in outbound order. Scan that. So I hadn't selected it to my material queue. And normally you'd pre-assign through some BPM or some other action, or through the fulfillment automation, you'd assign teams or users so they instantly would appear in this status of my outbound order, right? And then that Velcro that I might be picking, or rotor, as I scan this, I'm scanned confirming. If you notice, it was kind of a red checkbox that went to green real fast. And so that means it's valid, right? And when I do try to hit save right now, my BPM goes into action, and I take that control ID number and say, okay, it's whatever, QC 123. I say, okay. And then I might want to also see what else is on the order, because maybe not everything got in the queue. That's what my I button's for. So maybe there was a, make to order item, or maybe there's some items I don't have in stock or whatever. I can always get a good order view of things. So these data viewers are real nice too. So you can even drill down further. Maybe I wasn't sure about this part, so I want to look at all the part information, the expanded description. Maybe I want to scan the part, for seeing the picture of it or whatever. So you've just got a lot more data at your fingertips with what we call kind of data viewers. So now I'm looking at for some other location. Maybe I had some bad parts, so I need to go to a different bin. Maybe I want to see a picture of the part, all eliminating the need to go back to your PC. Okay. And I've found that as much as they're, in here, the users love it. I thought maybe originally it might make it seem a little difficult, the way you can get to so much data, but they're definitely willing to learn, so they can avoid a trip to a PC to get what they need. And then anytime you pick something, you can view what you picked, okay? And you can do a picked orders option and just select all and process that order, okay, into a pack slip. Now there's several different methods for picking and packing, whether or not you use a pack ID per pallet, whether or not you use, our PCIDs first, and then kind of print the pallet label based on the PCIDs. So there's just so many different workflows that, we can all explore together as you're implementing this system. So I'm hit right at like 10 minutes before the hour. So I think that's the right time frame, so that we can, respond to some chat questions, hopefully.
Yeah.
or we can open up the lines, whatever's easier, and just.
Sure. It doesn't look like we have any questions at this time. So if you do have a question on anything that Stephen has reviewed, please type that into the chat. I know he'd be happy to answer that for you. David, while we're waiting to see if any questions come in, was there anything you wanted to add or mention, or Lynn?
Well, Stephen, I think it would be helpful if you could speak to kind of the overall implementation process. If someone wanted to go from, say, a non-labeled warehouse into a digital workflow, how would you approach that with a customer as far as kind of from a planning standpoint? What are the major stages they'd go through? Data cleanup, hardware? Just kind of speak to that as far as what they would expect if they, engage with you and we came in and helped get them up and running.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so I think for the app, it's so simple. Sometimes people are tempted just to do it completely on their own, but now there's, enough in it that I'd really like to have customers go through some kind of onboarding kind of process, right? With some consulting of probably 2 to 4 hours, 2 if you're cloud, 4 if you're on-prem, maybe, to kind of describe some of those differences. But again, in either case, it's very simple to get onboarded. And then I would kind of think about like what kind of labeling that you need. If you have a lot of labels already in play, it's going to make your project go real fast, for sure, with barcodes especially. But again, on the other side, it's not necessary to have all the barcodes in place. So I don't want to kind of create the wrong idea there, especially with the material queue. Because as you notice, when I come into the material queue, I have this kind of validation required. So I had to scan, or I can't get past, a save. I can't, save. It'll just say scan validation failed. But if I turn that off, I can just do my material queue without ever scanning because I'm told what to do, right? And so I could start the project doing receiving labels and get those new products that are coming in the door easily transferred over into their bin locations, because I can do the label project right away for the receive. And so that usually is another day or two, kind of do both the label support for you to learn all the components of BarTender and what we call auto label print control on the Epicor side to do this automatic firing off of the labels. And so, another couple days for doing kind of the receiving, labeling, maybe put away, and even job picking. That's all those go pretty fast. They're pretty easy. Where you might pick up a few more days in support is on the shipping side, because there's just so many different workflow options. And to decide, kind of what's going to be best practice for you, keep it a little simpler. You could go as far as only using not using the material queue and just using the shipping screens that are in the Epicor Kinetic Warehouse. I don't really recommend that. I really recommend transferring any stock items out of a bin into the ship dock through the material queue, then finishing the packing, right? And there's easy ways to do that. You don't have to rescan everything to ship it. You just do what's called the picked orders option. So then a few more days of that. So, I mean, our typical projects, we can get you up and running pretty quick on the receiving, and, just within a couple to few weeks at the most on a receiving and put away and even issuing parts to jobs and things. And then the shipping, you just kind of look at that as another, kind of probably a couple weeks of testing after you decide on some workflows and get a couple days support from us. But of course, the 2 weeks is more like your time to really test and vet out, that the employees understand what they're doing and that, all the orders are going through well. Cycle counting is another nice capability here. I had a customer recently tell me they do a lot of weldments and they have barcoded everything, some really great, barcodes of combination barcodes with their part, the lot, the, all that in one barcode. And they reduced physical inventory taking. They usually like shut down Monday morning at 5:30 and expect to be working through Tuesday afternoon. They finished, they had everyone go home at 11:30 because they were using the Epicor Kinetic Warehouse 11:30 the same day. So 5:30 to 11:30 Monday morning, they were finished with a full physical. And they had thousands of sheets of metal and plates of steel and stuff like that. So that's another area that I'd suggest, definitely implementing the software in is the cycle count. And we can help you with all the setups on those too.
Question for you, Stephen. In the example earlier for integrating to a storage retrieval system, do you need to use Automation Studio?
It turned out to be the best tool, the recipe-based kind of capabilities that we have. There could be other ways to, send files to their systems. Their system didn't have a strong API like our REST API is in Epicor. And so we couldn't do like a one-to-one. That was kind of my original vision, but they kind of send things, I think every 15 seconds or something, like to the automation, to the retrieval system is the limitation of the retrieval system receiving the batch files that they need. But yeah, we just chose Automation Studio. There could be other integration tools that you could use.
Okay, great. It looks like we've covered all of our questions for today. Stephen, you did a great job as always. Great presentation and demo. We just want to remind you of an upcoming event that we have. And then after that, we have one more question.
No,
So
okay.
on November 12th, we have Building a Cybersecurity Program for Your Business. That information can be found on our website. We have Ian Collins from Sigil Defense, who will guide you through the roadmap for designing and implementing an effective cybersecurity program tailored to your manufacturing operations. So be on the lookout for that. Our next question that we did have come in, Stephen, is for the retrieval system, what screen did you use in the handheld?
On the handheld, it'd be the material queue, almost like what I showed you guys when I built a material queue for the job pick. So we put them in the material queue, and then we sort and filter by the job, scan the job number, and then that limited set of items will be in queue, like what the retrieval system's bringing up at the same time. And so all they have to do is scan a part, it finds the one in queue.
Great question. All right,
Yeah,
I think
great
that's
question.
it. Yeah. Stephen, was there anything else that you wanted to mention before we go today?
No, just that, there's a lot of experts on this. Make sure, we get you the documentation link so that you can really kind of get, to use this system to its fullest. And yeah, just, reach out to any of our experts that, would know how to just help you get the best practice. I mean, that's the theme today. And I think so many of our customers are achieving it. And it's tough for me to go to some customers that have all this great things going on, and then others see they don't, or they're hesitant. And that's the toughest part of my job, is to see where I know they can improve. So if you just kind of take us up on our offer to at least, try these systems out in different areas. The one thing that's the proof in the pudding for sure on this app is just the constant reorders or additional license orders. So we're really happy about that. And that obviously all the customers are too, that they're reordering the product and expanding it into different areas of their warehouse and shop.
Yeah, that's great. All right. David, before we leave, any parting words? I guess not. All right. Well, we thank you all for being here today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.